A racist police officer, known for judging people by their appearance, made a fateful mistake. Unaware of the consequences he would soon face, he arrested a black man, a retired veteran, without any valid reason. Officer Mark Thompson drove his patrol car down Main Street, his gaze sharp and vigilant. Thompson was known not for his skill in law enforcement, but for his pervasive prejudice. He had built a reputation for judging people based on their appearance, a habit that had repeatedly led to complaints and investigations. As he scanned the street, his attention fell upon a solitary figure seated on a park bench. The man, engrossed in his phone, seemed entirely absorbed in his own world. Thompson's eyes narrowed. The man was black, and to Thompson, that alone was enough to raise suspicion. Pulling over, Thompson stepped out of his car with a sense of purpose. The park was unusually empty, amplifying the isolation of the scene. He approached the man with a firm stride, his face set in a rigid expression. The figure on the bench was Jordan Turner, a retired Army veteran whose demeanor reflected years of service and sacrifice. Jordan's face, marked by experience and dignity, looked up as Thompson approached. He slowly put his phone away, his expression calm despite the intrusion. Thompson wasted no time, his tone curt and commanding. "Good afternoon," Thompson said, his voice lacking warmth. "I need to see your identification." Jordan responded with polite curiosity. "Good afternoon, officer. May I ask what this is about? I haven't done anything wrong." To Thompson, however, Jordan's politeness was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. He had already decided that Jordan fit a profile of suspicion. "Routine check," he said dismissively. "You look suspicious. We're looking for someone matching your description." Jordan was taken aback. "Suspicious? I'm just sitting here enjoying the day. How can that be suspicious?" The officer's expression remained unchanged. "Routine check. Show me your ID." With a resigned sigh, Jordan reached into his jacket pocket and handed over his identification. As Thompson examined the card, his eyes widened slightly upon seeing the military medals. Jordan's service record spoke of bravery and dedication, yet Thompson's reaction was one of scorn rather than respect. "A retired veteran," Thompson said with a sneer, "doesn't mean you're above suspicion." Jordan's surprise was palpable. "I've served this country with honor. I don't understand why I'm being treated this way." The officer's demeanor grew more hostile. "I've seen your kind before, always thinking you're entitled to special treatment. Your medals don't impress me. You're just another person we have to deal with." Jordan's frustration mounted. "This isn't about special treatment. It's about being treated with basic respect. I've sacrificed so much for this country." Thompson's voice grew harsh, his words laced with derogatory undertones. "Respect? You think you deserve that from me just because you wore a uniform? I know your race. I know the types who think they're owed something. You're no different from the rest." Jordan's anger flared. He had faced many challenges in his career, but this was a new level of disrespect. "This isn't just about race or my past. It's about you abusing your authority and letting your personal biases dictate your actions." Thompson's face twisted with disdain. "I don't care about your personal history. You fit the description of someone we're looking for, and that's all that matters. I'm tired of people like you thinking you're above the law." As Thompson grabbed Jordan's wrist and placed handcuffs on him, the reality of the situation sank in. The cold metal felt like a tangible symbol of the injustice he was facing. "What's the reason for this?" Jordan demanded, trying to keep his voice steady despite his frustration. "Resisting an investigation," Thompson said with a hint of satisfaction. "You'll get a chance to explain yourself at the station." The ride to the police station was filled with tension. Jordan sat in the back of the patrol car, the bright afternoon sun casting long shadows through the windows. His mind raced as he struggled to understand how an ordinary day had turned into a nightmare. Thompson drove with a smug confidence, clearly enjoying his display of power. The silence in the car was heavy. Jordan thought about his service, his sacrifices, and the stark contrast between the respect he had earned and the disdain he was now receiving. He couldn't help but feel that his past was being disregarded, overshadowed by the officer's prejudice. As they approached the police station, the reality of his predicament became more tangible. The sunlight bathed the entrance in a harsh light, a stark reminder of the battle for justice that lay ahead. Inside the station, the bustling atmosphere of police officers moving in and out of offices abruptly slowed when they saw Jordan, their eyes widening in surprise. They recognized him, not as a suspect, but as someone who had earned deep respect through his long service to the country. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support isn't just for us, it's for every person who faces racism and injustice every day. By subscribing, you're standing with us in the fight for equality, and you're helping us spread hope, understanding, and the message that everyone deserves to be treated equally. Now let's continue the story. Whispers began to spread, and soon Captain Reynolds emerged from his office, his face immediately contorting with disbelief. "Jordan Turner?" Reynolds muttered, shaking his head in shock. He approached quickly, pulling Thompson aside. "What on earth is going on here?" he demanded, his voice a mix of surprise and anger. "Why is this man in handcuffs?" Thompson, trying to maintain his usual authority, responded stiffly. "He looked suspicious, sir. I was just doing my job. Routine check." Reynolds frowned deeply, not convinced. He turned to Jordan, speaking gently. "Mr. Turner, I can't believe this. You, of all people? Just give me a moment to sort this out." He motioned for Thompson to follow him into his office. In the dimly lit cabin, Captain Reynolds sat behind his desk, his eyes drilling into Thompson. "Now tell me exactly what happened." Thompson, still holding on to his prejudices, stood tall. "He was just sitting there acting strange. I had to check his ID." Reynolds raised an eyebrow. "Acting strange? How exactly? What behavior made him suspicious?" Thompson faltered for a moment. "Well, he was alone in the park. Seemed out of place." Reynolds leaned forward, his voice growing more intense. "Alone in the park? So sitting in a park is suspicious now? What else, Thompson? What did he do?" The questions were coming faster now, and Thompson couldn't keep up. His reasons seemed weak, and he knew it. He just matched the description of someone we were looking for." Reynolds' eyes darkened with frustration. "Matched the description? That's not enough. You can't just go around arresting people because they look suspicious to you, especially someone like Turner. Do you know who he is? What he's done for this country?" Thompson's defensiveness was crumbling. He couldn't come up with a solid answer, but his pride held him back from fully admitting his mistake. "Sir, I was following protocol." But Reynolds cut him off, his voice stern. "Protocol? You didn't follow protocol. You let your bias make decisions for you, and now you've arrested a decorated veteran for no reason. Do you understand the consequences of this? When the senior officers hear about this, it won't just be you who faces trouble. It'll be all of us." His voice softened as he shook his head. "This is bigger than you realize, Thompson." With that, Reynolds stood up and stormed out of the office, signaling Thompson to follow. He approached Jordan, still standing patiently in the lobby, and gestured for Thompson to release him. "Get those handcuffs off now." Reluctantly, Thompson removed the cuffs from Jordan's wrists, his hands trembling slightly. He muttered under his breath, "You're free to go." Captain Reynolds turned to Jordan, his face filled with regret. "Mr. Turner, I'm deeply sorry for this. This should never have happened." He gave Thompson a sharp glance as if daring him to say more. But Thompson remained silent, shame beginning to creep into his posture. The room seemed to breathe again as Jordan rubbed his wrists, now free. Reynolds wasn't finished, though. He turned back to Thompson. "For now, you're suspended, temporarily terminated from duty until further review. I'll make it clear. We can't have officers who judge people by their appearance. You'll be hearing from us soon." Thompson's heart sank. As Reynolds dismissed him, he felt the weight of his actions for the first time. He had let his biases lead him, and now he was paying the price. Days later, Thompson received a call to return to the station. This time the setting was different. As he entered the conference room, a large table stretched before him, surrounded by high-ranking officers. Thompson felt the pressure immediately. The room was heavy with authority and consequence. At the head of the table sat Captain Reynolds, flanked by several senior officers. But what caught Thompson off guard was the presence of Jordan Turner, now dressed in a formal suit, seated among them. The meeting began swiftly. The officers wasted no time in questioning Thompson about his actions that day. "What exactly made you think Mr. Turner was a threat?" one officer asked sternly. Thompson shifted in his seat, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He tried to justify his actions. "He looked suspicious. I thought I was following procedure." But the questions kept coming, more pointed each time. "Suspicious? How? Did he threaten you in any way? Was there any aggressive behavior?" Thompson's defenses were crumbling again. "No, he didn't, but—" Another officer cut him off. "So you made an arrest based on nothing more than appearance?" Thompson looked around the room, his words catching in his throat. He felt trapped. The weight of the officer's scrutiny was crushing him. Finally, in a moment of vulnerability, he lowered his head and admitted the truth. I judged him because he's black. I'm ashamed to say it, but that's what happened." The room was silent for a moment. The officers exchanged glances, some nodding grimly. Captain Reynolds spoke next. "Do you even understand who this man is?" he said, motioning toward Jordan. "Do you know what he's done for this country?" The captain began to recount Jordan's long military career, his years of service, the battles he fought in, the sacrifices he made. Jordan had saved lives, led missions with bravery, and earned the respect of soldiers from all walks of life. He had been awarded multiple honors, including the Purple Heart, for his courage under fire. Thompson could barely meet Jordan's gaze. As he listened to the recounting of Jordan's heroism, he felt his shame deepen. He had reduced this man, a man who had given so much, to nothing more than a suspect because of his own ignorance and prejudice. When the story ended, the senior officer turned to Jordan. "Mr. Turner, given the gravity of this situation, we would like your opinion on what consequences Officer Thompson should face." The room went silent once more. All eyes were on Jordan, who sat quietly for a moment thinking. Thompson's heart raced. He knew that this could be the end of his career, but when Jordan finally spoke, his voice was calm and steady. "I believe Officer Thompson has realized his mistake," Jordan said, looking directly at Thompson. "We've all made errors in our lives. What matters is that we learn from them. I can see in his eyes that he's learned a valuable lesson today. So no, I don't think termination is necessary. Everyone deserves a second chance." Thompson was stunned. His heart swelled with emotion as tears filled his eyes. He had expected anger, punishment, and condemnation, but instead, Jordan offered him mercy. For the first time in his career, Thompson felt a deep sense of humility. He looked at Jordan, his voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you," he said, tears welling up in his eyes. "I don't deserve this, but thank you." The room remained silent, but the weight of the moment lingered. It wasn't just about a racist officer and a black veteran anymore. It was about redemption, growth, and the power of forgiveness. In the end, we encourage you to show your support by subscribing to this channel and liking the video. It lets us know you enjoy our content and motivates us to create even more for you.